integrating the shadow is hugely important for everyone, I think, on this planet, but especially anyone who is doing intuitive work. And I think a lot of empaths like me and people that I've worked with, again, I realize that I speak from a limited perspective, but I have worked with a lot of empaths, and I have a lot of very intuitive empathic friends. And a very common characteristic of people who are empathic, intuitive, or have extrasensory abilities is a light worker sort of energy. We kind of have this desire to help people and to save people, quote unquote, although I hope we all know we can't actually save anybody. But I think we have this sort of drive to make the world a better place, so to speak. The reason why shadow work and integrating the shadow is so important for light workers and empaths is because one factor that we often leave out of the equation is when we have this strong desire to help people or make the world a better place or fix things, and we feel we have this quote unquote higher calling to do it, we're at the same time supposing that if we have a higher calling, other people have a lower calling or not as maybe an important calling as us. We also are implying that the world is broken and needs to be fixed. We're also implying that people are broken and need to be fixed. And I think from one perspective, there's that perspective does exist. There is a perspective that things are broken and need to be fixed. There is a perspective of chaos and things breaking down. But there's also the perspective that all things are exactly happening as they need to happen. And when you enter into a relationship with somebody, a friendship, or if you're an intuitive reader and you enter into a session, or you have just people that you interact with, and you enter into it with the idea that there is lack, that there is need, that there is brokenness, you come in with an agenda, and you come in by default with resistance, and anything you resist persists. So fighting against the darkness is actually just making the darkness stronger. Being a light worker is such a misnomer, and I think by being a light worker, you're suggesting that people have darkness within them, and you're kind of suggesting that you don't have darkness within you by saying I'm a light worker. You're identifying with the light and choosing to suppress the darkness. I'm not saying that all light workers who say they're light workers actually do this, but I'm just pointing out that the language itself suggests that. And I think as somebody specifically and especially who's empathic, it is so important to integrate and feel and acknowledge the shadow within you, the humanity within you. There's also, I think, a misconception that, well, not even a misconception, there's a sort of general feeling around a lot of people who are spiritual or religious or even just secular and want to change the world from a quote-unquote secular mindset, that they're somehow above humanity, by having that idea that we need to fix things. We kind of also are suggesting that we're above that. And then when we feel like we're having a hard time, which many empaths will go through really dark, low vibe days because we are so sensitive to energy and because we process energy at such an intense rate, that when we're feeling low, and if we've built up this idea in our heads that we're here to make the world a better place, to help people, to be the example, to embody the truth, whatever these things are, or some people, feel like they need to save people or bring the truth to them, then we feel like we can't just be human. We have to be superhuman. And so when we are having a hard time and we are feeling human, which we somehow suggest is less than being, all these other amazing things that we feel like we need to be, a light worker or a star seed or an ET or I don't know, some people, whatever it is that you feel like you are, someone who's just incredibly gifted, or that you need to be, then identifying with being human is something that none of us actually want to do. We all sort of have this, whether we actually say it or not, we're saying it with the language that we use. We're sort of saying and implying that being human is less than anything else. Like, humans are like the scum of the universe. And again, by having that belief, even if you don't consciously realize you have it, if you feel like you suppress your humanity, you suppress what it means to be human, which is to have darkness in you, that is part of the human experience. It's part of this whole dimension that we're in, light and darkness, positive and negative. We can't exist without the polarity here. We can't exist in this dimension without polarity. So when we choose not to identify with it, we suppress it within us. And often the suppression of it makes it stronger. So aspects of, ways to integrate the shadow, at least I found, is really working with the lower chakras, working with the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus. Most people who are empathic or have extrasensory abilities, or even just on a conscious spiritual journey, are spending all their time in their upper chakras. We're always in our third eye and our crown chakra and our throat chakra. And we often don't know how to integrate and embody those higher dimensions within our lower chakras. And again, even the words higher, lower suggest sort of a hierarchy. But I think that, at least in my experience, and I feel like when I found balance and when I've worked with people who really have balance in their lives, it's less like a vertical line, or a horizontal line, and it's more like a vertical line. So the higher quote unquote vibrations might be the front of a train, and the lower ones would be the caboose, but it's on the same trajectory, and it's not a hierarchy. And you can it's important to identify with being human because you are human. And if you want to create anything in this world, in this third dimension at all, that's physical, you have to be human to do it. And you have to use your human vessel to do it. And you have to use, your sacral chakra, which is your creative chakra and your sexual center, which again, especially as I've talked about in other audios, is an especially damaged, with a lot of people, an unhealed chakra, because we suppress that energy so much within us, and most people have a hard time reconciling the fact that their spirituality and their sexuality are deeply linked together. You can't have one without the other. You can't fully express one without the other in this dimension. I think in all dimensions, but because this is a physical dimension and we express ourselves physically, we have this, and because our sexual energy and our creative energy come from the same energy source, the same energy vortex, we have a hard time reconciling how we can use sexual energy to also be spiritual. And yet esoteric spirituality has talked about this topic for ages, like centuries. It's an ancient understanding that our sexuality and our spirituality are deeply connected and linked. So I think the first thing with connecting with your shadow is just admitting that you're human. And if you're uncomfortable with just being human, I find this to be very true, even within myself and within most of the friends I have. We're uncomfortable with our humanity. We're uncomfortable with being ordinary. We all feel the need to identify with some other higher evolved beings, and want to connect our souls to part of that, or be that, or feel like we're from another planet because we can't possibly be from Earth, because we can't possibly be human, because humans are weak, humans are less than. And how can you affect any real change in anybody by entering into a relationship with them or with the Earth with the belief and the energy towards them that they're less than you? And we are human. So I think just the fact that we want to deny that we're human and sort of separate ourselves from being human, and I'm specifically talking about spiritual people, and many empaths fall in this category. By doing that, I think it weakens our true power. And the truth is, to be effective in this world, in this dimension, we've got to use fully our humanity and embrace our humanity fully. That is what's powerful. The human here is the powerful. The human in this story, in this dimension, is the superstar. Not the ET, it's the human. Not the angels, it's the human. Not just the etheric beings, it's the human. The humans are the ones here that are the center of their center stage. They're on the cutting edge of creation. We all wanted to be human. We all couldn't wait to jump into this experience to be human, to be able to create in this dimension. And then we deny our humanity once we're here, when we realize sort of the mess that we're in, that we also are all co-creating together. None of us are exempt from this world, from the creation of this world that we're in. None of us didn't have a part in it. We all had a part in it. We are all, even in this moment, creating what this world is. And we need the world to be exactly what it is, because that's why we came here, to learn from it, to learn from this dimension. And the important thing is, remember that it's a hologram. So knowing that as a human, you get to enter into a hologram and have every single thing in your experience reflect back to you your own thoughts is an amazing chance for expansion. So the world needs to be exactly how it is. I'm not saying, obviously, I think we all desire peace. We all desire everyone to be happy. But we can only have that journey on this world by creating it ourselves, within ourselves. When you create that within you, it will reflect in the world around you. And we have to co-create that together. And we cannot do that by denying our humanity, because all that is doing is separating us from humanity. It's perpetuating the us and them mentality that has been around for so long in the human drama, that religions have started around and belief systems have started around, and then secular political parties have started around, all with the mentality of we're right, they're wrong, we have what they need, we're smarter than them, we're better than them, and we need to come in and fix them. That's the energy that needs to be healed in this planet. The planet itself is doing exactly what it's meant to do. This dimension is functioning perfectly, beautifully as it's meant to function. We are the ones who are using the energy in this and creating what's here. So it's just something to think about as you're really diving into your empathic abilities. Ask yourself how comfortable you are with the fact that you're human, with the fact that you struggle, with the fact that you have days where you maybe feel really shitty or really immoral or really just low vibe, unhappy, you don't want to live. This is part of this experience here. How do you feel about the fact that you contribute to the drama that's in this world, that you've contributed to the hatred that's in this world, that you've contributed to the pollution that's in this world, all the things that you may feel like it's your mission to come in and conquer, you've also contributed to it. It is you. It's an interesting way to look at it, but this hologram is functioning beautifully, exactly as it needs to function. So being human is amazing because we have the ability to come into this hologram and create what we want. So just something to think about.